Hello, and welcome back to Galactic Reviews. And we recently Zach recently I read this a little bit ago, but we read the Cyberfrog books, Salamandroid Death Sting, and then Cyberfrog 1.5 Diary of Heather Swain, 1980, I think 1988. It's just stories that are running alongside the main two books. It adds stuff to it. It's not supposed to take anything away from it. It's not necessary. At least these two aren't. But it does give you more insights to the characters and what they were doing during the time that Cyberfrog was either in hibernation or as Cyberfrog was coming back to the world, according to the story from Cyberfrog 1 and Blood Honey and Cyberfrog 2 Wrecked Planet. As far as like putting it in that perspective, I think these are really good. I don't think they're on the same par as the main Cyberfrog books, but
I will say at
That's kind
least,
of hard to do in
yeah,
that
I will
aspect.
say at least Salamandroids isn't.
Salamandroids is close.
It's close. And then the Diary of Heather Swain, that one is, I mean, it's different in general because it's not really fighting, it's more of survival.
Yeah. Well, at least Heather Swain's one is. Salamandroid, not so much. It's more so like dealing with what he assumes is loss.
Yes. Yes. But even though they're both very good for like side stories to bring you up to speed on what's happened in the last, what, decade,
Yeah. Well, for the
I
most part,
believe.
yeah, for the most part on those characters, the more stuff will get revealed in the Cyberfrog book, Heartsick Horror, which is another one that's kind of just shows some of Heather Swain, and then a story about it's got two stories in it. One's a side story about Heather Swain, kind of goes over like some stuff after she gets into the camp, but before Cyberfrog 1 still. So kind of
Okay.
goes it's kind of in between Diary of Heather Swain and then Cyberfrog 1. And then there's another short story that's sometime during the time when Cyberfrog is in the camp during that time period. So in between, I think roughly in between 1 and 2, roughly in between 2. But
Okay.
yeah, those are good. And that's probably the next one I'll get you as soon as I'll probably have to buy a second copy because I like the one I got, but I'll probably
Fair.
get you one.
I'll have to start finding good comic book places around here.
Well, the problem is with some of these ones that I've been like you gotta go buy them from the guys. Like it's not like they're not
Well,
in because
yeah,
they got kicked. Most of these guys got kicked out of mainstream for being conservative. So
got you.
that's
Got you. I'll have to find a way. I gotta find a good comic book shop anyways.
so what did you think about it? Like I know last time me and you talked about Cyberfrog Wrecked Planet, you were like you said like you were excited. This made you excited to get back into comics some more,
Oh,
at least with newer
100%.
stuff.
Yes. Salamandroids was a slower build up for me. It was mostly his inner torment of like he lost his purpose and he was trying to find a new purpose in a way. But I mean, the end of it was phenomenal. Him just losing his mind, excited, angry.
Yeah,
It was it's always fun to see something like that happen. Um, Especially what always gets me every time I look at or read is the art style. The art style for this is always so on point, so phenomenal that it just intensifies every single page
yeah,
in the impact of it. I don't know how he does it, what he does, if it's just I don't know, but everything is art at its finest, and it's beautiful to look at and just engrosses me and while I read it and makes the story so much more impactful, especially with the fights.
yeah.
Um, they're so fluid in what they are. It's so much fun. It's nice to see because I know some of the characters were or villains were brought up in I think the second one for Cyberfrog.
Yeah, and we do see Rumblebee in the first
Yeah,
one, and he
yes.
shows back up in
And then they
the.
yes, and then they die, such as what was it?
I
The
think it's his. I think it's his Hive 8. I don't know what exact. I don't remember exactly what they're called, but his like
yeah.
cloned group, and they mention like, yeah, we'll just clone you more of them. Like quit
Well, the clone
crying. Like
group dies.
it,
The doesn't the hijacking one die as well? What is his name? The Weasel, not the Weasel, is shoot.
spite.
Jackal? Spite, yes.
Um,
I'm not
so
sure if he dies
for
or
that
if he
one,
just
so
because
for
it
that
doesn't get
one,
specified.
yeah. So for that one, it seems like from what I can best guess, it well from what I've seen and from what I've like know that the creator somewhat talked about. He Spite is so I believe in the what you calls it the at the beginning of Death Sting, you get to see like Scorpionra and
Yes.
Cyberman, and you get to see that whole fallout right away. So Spite is actually, I think, the outer shell for a character named Device, and Device is what's left over of Cyberman.
Okay,
So, and it's there. You just gotta kind of you kind of gotta look through the details for it,
got you.
because
Okay.
I think his whatever his alien name I think is like Duran something. So you get to see his alien name get called in Cyberfrog 2 as well as in this. So you get that link of the characters and be like,
Okay.
oh, that's the same guy. But
Okay. I'll have to reread it to catch that part.
yeah, I don't know if it's explicitly said in there, but I know in I think in the back of one there is those stat cards,
Yes. And I
and
do remember
it
seeing
lists Spite
yes.
as that character. So
Okay.
I don't remember if it lists them in the beginning of Salamandroid, which
I
would
would
be the
have
clincher for you
yeah.
figuring out like that. But
Yeah, I would have to relook at that. Um, but I'm excited to see the direction of that storyline to get tied in. Well, I already know how it's kind of tied in, but
yeah, no, I get
come
you. Like,
come to fruition, like the complete because he gets brought back as a character, but how they're going to be used, I suppose, is the best way to fight. And
um,
then with Heather Swain, it's such a different pace because it's a survival horror at this point for her character since they have no abilities, they're just normal average Joes trying to survive.
yeah,
But also with the is she a psychic or what is her ability specifically?
I don't. She doesn't have one. I think she's just a regular human.
Just a regular human that likes to manipulate people? Is that how it
Heather, are
boils
you talking
down?
about who are you talking? Heather Swain?
No, not Heather Swain. The chick that
Oh, the goth chick.
yeah,
So she has the ability of like so
manipulate not
somewhat manipulation. She can
all I can
emotionally
think of
manipulate people.
yeah, I was about to say all I can think of is just Xavier from X-Men. Just an evil version.
Not quite. Hers has more to do with emotions and less so to do with telepathy.
Okay. So an empath in a way.
Yeah,
Okay.
more so like an empath. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because it the way it ends for that storyline is are they feeding people they don't like to what's ever in the cave? Because we don't go into the cave to find out. I'm supposing that's going to be in the next volume for Cyberfrog.
From two. Are you talking about from the
Yes.
end of two? Yeah, yeah. So there is a originally he was gonna do like go from two to three, and there's a 2.5 called Dark Harvest that you would
Okay.
be able to that would just be non that wouldn't be important. It would kind of be like what kind of similar what Diary of Heather Swain was, or a mix of Diary of Heather Swain and then Salamandroid, I would
Okay.
think. But he then changed it to it's actually an important part of the story. So, and like from what he said was 2.5 was setting up for 3 to go straight into action. So, which will
Okay.
be good for like the story, but so I'll have to get you that one as well. I'll
Yeah,
probably get
I
you
want I need to like find more of like the original works to get the a lot of these characters explained to me
yeah. So I will say
because
that
I
is
feel like I'm
the
missing a lot of the information
yeah.
just from not understanding some of these characters that are
And I
being
will say I
introduced.
feel like that is the main problem with this. But I think once you understand these characters, it's fun. Like it's just
Yes, I
straight up
can
fun.
because I mean
But
even from what he gives for someone who doesn't understand these characters, it's still fun, but you're left a little bit more confused
yeah,
at times. Like with Spite. Um,
yeah. Um, so for that one, I think that one will get explained more. Um, from what he said, device is supposed to be a big part of, or at least a decent part of the third one. So
okay,
we'll get to see more of him. We'll probably get to see more of him in Scorpion in the second Salamandroid book. Um, so hope
okay.
I I I don't I don't know, but he says things and then sometimes he'll go back and like change his mind and say, "No, I've thought of this other thing. This is what I want to do here."
Yeah,
And
which is
then
perfectly fine.
and I
You
mean,
know,
yeah, I get it. Like it's his story. He's trying to figure out the best way to tell it, and he knows where it's going, so I'm not worried about it. Like he just keeps on changing his mind and has no idea where it's going. He has an end to it. Um, so and he's also working on at the same time he's working on a prequel series called called Diary of Heather Swain 19 I want to say 1994 1993 1994 1995. And then he's got another one that's going to be Frog Meets World, which is essentially going to be 1996 1997 and then right up to 1998.
okay. So kind of
So
just to
it'll
fill in those gaps a little bit.
yeah, it'll probably also help with the characters that if you're not familiar with his work previously, it'll
Yeah.
probably explain those more.
Okay.
Um, so at least that's what I'm hoping because I don't want to keep on having to explain it to some of this stuff to you. I'm hoping that
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
will say that's
I'm
the
gonna
one
have to I'm
problem
gonna
I
have to
have
like
with this,
sit
but
down and pull up like a watch watch someone else review or explain like the history of Cyberfrog to an extent.
yeah.
Um,
And I do have warts and all, and once I get the ultra copy or the if you come down for Christmas, I might just give it to you and say, here's this. I might be getting a hardcover, which might have more material in it.
Got you.
But because he keeps finding more of his old stuff.
Which is
So
cool.
but I might just give you that and say, here, read all this. It's not that great. It's not it's good, but it's not like the same quality of work that he's doing now,
Fair. I
just
mean,
because that was when he
he
like
wrote this
started out
originally. Yeah, he wrote this originally what? Like
1990 something.
yeah,
19
I was about to say going on 30 years now.
yeah, he like
Well, over
this was the
30
first
years,
thing
but
he
yeah.
did. Yeah, this was one of the first things he did. And then he got work at DC and Marvel and
Yeah.
so yeah. So and then he thought about doing this was doing this and doing some stuff at I think he was still doing like covers and maybe some other stuff at DC. And then he completely got blacklisted. So then he was like, okay, I guess I'm just doing this now. So and now he's
Fair.
like put most of his heart into this and some other projects he's been wanting to do. So
I mean, it's good he's coming back to it. I mean, it's still a good story. I'm sure, a phenomenal story if you've like read his original works.
yeah,
Um, I mean, it's a good story if you haven't. I've been enjoying it a lot,
yeah,
and it's mostly that art style. I mean, he's just a phenomenal artist.
yeah. I mean that art style is the same in the old warts and all stuff, but it's way more refined here. It's just way more refined.
Yeah,
Like he's honed that style. Like so yeah, no, I will definitely be getting that to you so you can understand it some more, but you'll probably I feel like there's still stuff that you'll be confused on, and I think that's just because
possibly. So yeah,
he hasn't
so I
told
mean,
everything yet.
with Heather Swain, what I'm confused about the most is so she has a daughter, and her husband was killed, but he was also tricked to go somewheres and died. Is that how it is kind of being explained and broken down to my extent
We
of
don't know his
knowledge?
fate, and that's me reading 2.5, and that's after me reading 2.5 and Heartsick Horror. You get
Okay,
to see him leave, I think, in Heartsick Horror, if I'm not mistaken. But and in 2.5, you get to see the group that he went, the remains of the group that he went with, but you
I
don't
forget
get to
what
see
were they
him.
doing again
I think they were just
exactly?
going to look for some stuff. Like they were
Supplies.
like some supplies, just go
Okay,
scavenge some stuff.
that's what I thought. And
If I'm
then
and then you just don't hear from him again. And
okay,
it's yeah, no, it's just hasn't we haven't seen him. I know in previous iterations of what the story was going to be, he does show up, but as it is right now,
as
he
of right
hasn't
now,
shown
not
up.
yet. Got you.
So
Okay,
I don't know if he will or won't, or if he'll show up and be like something completely different than what we expect. I have no idea. But
fair. Okay, okay. Because that was the biggest thing. Heather Swain's story, it was good to be able to see how they were surviving, but everything else about it just left you really confused, or at least myself, as to why is this important?
so I'm kind of getting that one and the Heart Sakura one confused. What exactly happens in the
Heather Swain?
yeah, isn't that just like where
Heather Swain
everything
is
comes
diary
down,
is
like all the bees
she
just come down, she just gets out, goes in a cab or gets in a police car, finds out the police driver has the starts kind of blood honey
yes,
melting away,
and
and
then
then gets
he
out and
she
meets
gets out,
Colin.
runs, meets Colin, Colin helps her. They start the settlement pretty much, or the bunker, I
Yeah.
guess.
Are you
Um,
confused about that fly guy? Is that the thing you're confused about?
no, no, because it's
The
like because the whole thing is like she's trying to protect her daughter from not finding out about the thing. And then the empath is trying to force her daughter to leave to go find out information. And that's pretty much the whole gist of it.
yeah.
And it just seems very irrelevant at this point.
It will make sense after you
It
read 2.5. I will say that.
okay.
Yeah, I've read
Okay.
2.5. That does make sense.
Okay.
Um,
Because I'm like the whole storyline for this just seems irrelevant at this point. I'm like maybe if they release something else next, it'll make sense, or they should have released that first and then gone back to explain it.
eh, I mean,
I mean
I
either way, I
yeah,
mean
either way.
it'll work if it gets explained like you said, and it should. Then that's fine by me. It's just from my point of view, it just seemed very irrelevant. Not
Yeah.
irrelevant, but
Well, the way that I see that most comic book stories show, it's more like just progression. This is
yeah,
more like puzzle pieces. Like you're given a piece here, a piece here, and a piece here, and you're
yeah,
trying to see what connects, what doesn't connect. Where am I missing stuff? And I think by the end of it, you will get the full picture, and it'll be a masterpiece.
yep.
But as of right now, I think that's the one complaint I have is like we're missing pieces, and I think they will be explained later. But
Oh, okay. That's then yeah, then we should okay. That should
that's
be
just
fine then.
that's just the way that I'm seeing this working. But
Because it just especially so I know going back to characters because I don't know much about them. So because a lot of them seem mechanically focused, but they're aliens, a lot
yeah,
of them at the same time. So
so
are all aliens mechanized?
no, so what the way it's explained, and this is he gets this idea. It's somewhat explained in the Salamandroid book. It's explained that the way that Trick Ron's like Cyberfrog's race works is that they are originally from these alien beings that when they are born, they only need the only living beings that need to be present are the mother and father because that's how they get their genetic code from. Like
Hmm.
they are just like I think originally in the when they are born they have no coding. They are completely malleable in that sense. Um so that's why when that's why Trick Ron and Salamandroid and Scorpion and Cyberman device look nothing like what alien race they're from.
Okay.
Because I think Cyberfrog is part that because the is part of that cybernetic ship that he came in, which is also a living being. Those are which is technically his biological mom, but not his birth mom. It's where he gets and then a frog, and the same thing with Salamandroid and
Yeah.
Scorpion and Cyberman are actually cousins because those ships are sisters.
Okay.
So
But they were sent for the same purpose, but they
yes,
had different motives to get there.
yes,
Okay.
because the mothership is essentially like a Wi-Fi
Yeah.
and can
So
just
for
expand.
Scorpion and Cyberman, which one is it? It's because they're always sent in pairs. So
Yeah,
which one is the guardian and which one's the leader?
the leader was supposed to be Cyberman, and the guardian was supposed to be Scorpion.
Okay.
Scorpion kind of just says, "Screw this! I'm not wasting my life away trying to protect this guy and possibly dying." So he just says, "Screw it," and bites his
Okay.
brother's head off, and then just takes control of his mother. And you see his mother, the ship, in the
Yes, I did see
Salamandroid
that.
one.
Okay.
So
Okay, makes a lot more sense.
yeah, it
A lot more.
if you read the old stuff, which I need to get you the book, dude. Like if you read the old
I'll have to
stuff, you
look
can
for it.
kind of see like, oh, I can see the breadcrumbs of like the old stuff that he's using and kind of see it being placed in here. Um, it's gonna be hard to look for. I think it's a the one I got was like $100,
Okay.
and I would
I'll have to look and like put it down on my list and like just continuously like check pricing and check everything for it.
yeah.
Um, wait till I get paid.
That's how all that kind of just went.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Okay. That makes more sense because I know
and
that's I
Scorpion and
okay.
Salamandroid aren't connected to their mother the way that Cyberfrog and Cyberman would be.
Yeah, they're more since they were the leaders, they were directly connected
Yeah, whereas
to them.
Salamandroid and Scorpion are kind of just like they're already maxed out power level. They just have to know when and how to unlock some stuff, and then they'll go. Because like
Got you.
Salamandroid just all of a sudden just started breathing fire, and he hadn't been doing that,
Yeah,
which probably would have been beneficial for him to do that beforehand.
potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially.
So
But okay, so that's why Scorpion is trying to convince Salamandroid he doesn't need Cyberfrog.
yeah, because he's already been there. He's like, this isn't worth dying for.
Okay,
It can
now
work.
I understand the like conversations between the two and how he's like, you betrayed everything, and he's like, no, I just decided it wasn't for the best, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot more sense now. Okay.
So, and
Because
I
I
will
was kind of
say,
picking up that, but I was like, I'm not, I feel a little lost,
yeah,
but
no,
that
they
makes
were
more
sent
sense.
for the same mission. It's just Scorpion and Cyberman's failed right off the bat. And so they were just like, well, I guess we got to send another group there to be prepared since this group failed. And
Yeah, Cyberman failed because he looked too human.
no, Cyberman failed because Scorpion bit his head off
Oh, that's also
and
true.
then took control of him and his mom so that way he could never be at his full potential.
Okay.
And that's why you have characters like Rumblebee, Shockroach, and all those other ones around. They're made from the same technology, so and Spite and stuff. So they've just been dividing up Device and some of his mom and kind of just putting it in other things, creating other
Got you
characters.
to
Partially to
prevent
prevent Device from ever really fully making a recovery, but also kind of to control his mom and control Device.
got you. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Because I was so confused. I'm like, why is everything so cybernetic for like all the villains? That makes a lot more sense. Okay.
Yeah. And I only know that because he said it. I don't, otherwise, it's not really well explained. So that's, like I said, some of this stuff,
Got you.
that's about my only complaint with this stuff is like that it's not well explained and that, um, and I don't mind the puzzle pieces, because it gives me questions like, okay, I'm waiting for the next part because I got questions and I want to see if they're answered or not.
Yep.
Um, but so I don't really care that much about the puzzle piece thing, but I it is annoying that we don't get everything for a character that we're not completely able to understand a character. But
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but you understand enough of him to be able to move forward with the story and not have a problem, which I will say is
Yes, he does a very well explaining enough for you to understand to an extent. I
he
mean,
puts
I
enough in
still,
there for you to get enticed, but pulls enough back to where you're like, I want the next, I need to know
yes,
more. So
yes. And luckily, he does put the bits in the back to explain more of each character he introduces, but it's
yeah.
still not enough at times where I'm like, okay, now I understand everything for
Yeah,
this.
well, that's already obvious enough by some of the stuff that you've asked me. I've been like, yeah, yeah, this,
Hey,
and
look,
it's like,
I'm just saying.
and the only reason why I know a lot of this stuff is either because I read the warts and all, so I know where he's getting the basis of this from, or
Yeah.
I've watched him on live streams talk about it. That's about
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So,
Makes a lot more
what
sense.
would you what would you rank these two?
I don't even remember what I ranked Cyberfrog.
I want to say we ranked Cyberfrog 2 at least a 9.
I was gonna
Probably the
say like
first one
they
was
were
probably about an 8
I was gonna say they
ish.
were probably like an 8 or a 9. So these,
I would say Salamandroid is probably at least an 8.5 for me. Like it's at that same level.
yeah, I could definitely put it as an 8 and then put Heather Swain's at, I feel like a 6 is too low.
I
But
want to
at the
say
same time,
7.5, 8 and 7.5. 8 for Salamandroid, 7.5 for Heather Swain.
yeah, I'll have to put Heather Swain at like, then again, but solely because there's still a lot I don't understand about Heather Swain and the direction it's going.
Yeah.
Probably like a 6.5 to a 7
Yeah.
for me. Because that storyline, yes, it was good, but it served no purpose as of right now for me.
Yeah. No, I
It's
think
just a
it
side dialogue.
yeah. And it kind of does with Heartsick Horror, and you kind of get to understand Lily more. You kind of get to understand Heather's situation a bit more.
Okay.
Um, so it kind of just sets the groundwork for that. But no, I get where you're coming from on that.
I mean, it's both still very, very good.
Yeah. No, and it's like I said, I think he's just putting out like puzzle pieces, and then at the end of the, when he's finally done with it, you will get to see a masterpiece. But as of right
Oh yeah,
now, you're kind of just getting a little bit of info here and there,
here and there, sporadically,
but it's
slowly
enough to
piecing
keep you
everything
in,
together.
but it's enough to keep you interested, unlike an actual
Yes,
puzzle. So
yes, that is true. Well, join us next time when we discuss a different comic book. Who knows what it'll be? Let me know in the description what
if you
comic
have a,
book you want us to talk about.
yep, if you have a comic book recommendation, let us know.
Danny Phantom. That's not a comic book, but it's fun.
No porn
Kind
comics,
of.
please.
Dude, please, please no. That's for Andrew. I'm just kidding.